What's up guys, Boy here. Today we're doing another video. Today we're taking a look at the United States desert camo pattern. Let's begin. So this is kind of much more of an addition, or rather a continuation of the chocolate chip pattern, or the DBDU. And if you all know about this one, yes, I did not mention during their history, during the Gulf War, there are some that actually had been used this during the Gulf War, rather of limited usage. More likely for supporting roles in generals, or rather they decided that most of them were completely stretched out type of deal. These actually been tested in the 80s, and of course, one of them is Saudi Arabia, which they actually wanted a camo that's actually for their environment. So thus decide to testing this whole thing out, rather the camo out. And after the entire of the Gulf War and the Battle of Mogadishu, or Operation Gothic Serpent, known as the Black Hawk Down incident, this camo was being used, the Gothic Serpent one, or Battle of Mogadishu, those have actually been used for both this and the chocolate chip pattern. Now, this entire camo has been ultimately been widespread used during the entirety of a particular event in September. You can probably, during the entirety of 9/11, during Operation Desert Shield. This has actually became a rather very noticeable camo pattern being used. So, of course, now the camo itself, let's see here. What we have here is a darker tan, a khaki, and, brown. Now, let's get to the top piece. Now, the top piece itself. Now, this had 5 buttons, similar to a BDU pattern, rather to an M81 pattern. Here's the tag for this guy, and this one's made in 2001. And inside of this guy, that's inside the jacket itself, or the top piece itself. Let's see, there we go. Inside the piece itself, in the bottom of the piece, it says Coat Desert Camouflage Pattern Combat. It's Unicore, Manchester, Kentucky. So this is a roundabout of nylon/cotton ripstop, 97. Of course, the pockets on top, or rather on both pockets are on the breast, and kind of like the DBDU, it actually has a little small pocket for that. Secured of 2 buttons on that. While on the bottom, there's 2 pockets on the bottom, also have 2 secured with buttons inside. The button wrists, the button cuffs to secure in your entire, rather for the cuffs themselves, secured with of a button itself. And there's 3 buttons to adjust it or to tighten it. And at the back of the piece, there's nothing there. Now, I want to point out here is they do in fact a lot of other variants or a lot of other camo patterns on this, like the M65 field jacket, which I do have that in my collection. And, of course, just like the FLCs and, of course, the point-blank body armor. Now let's get to the pants itself. Now, to the pants itself, there are 4 buttons for the groin area. There's a tag for inside here. Since 2001, but inside there's also the trousers desert camouflage pattern combat 97, wind resistant poplin nylon cotton blend Unicorn Sagoville Texas. And here's what the tag looks like. Here is belt loops for all around it, for you to use a belt. There's also the waist adjustment, where you can tighten and loosen. There's 2 pockets, half secured of sewn in there, and a little button, 1 button here on both sides. No waist strap here. Oh, no, wait, yeah, there do, in fact, have waist straps. Have these holes right here. There's some fabric, there's also additional fabric right here, reinforced to it. Pockets, 2 pockets in here. And on the back, there's 2 pockets on the cheeks. Also have reinforced with a little button right here. Now let's go test these bad boys out. The tests on these guys, these actually became much more effective camos during in the desert regions, which it actually has turned out to be good. Why did it got replaced? Well, you gotta remember the entirety of the Marpat. Yeah, the Marpat decided to replace replacing their camos with their Marpats. Of course, the U.S. Army decided to in 2004, but in 2008 it was ultimately, for the U.S. Army, was ultimately replaced with you guessed it, easy P. And we'll talk about, already talked about that camo. Another one about it here is also the Airmen, of course, the ABU Tiger Stripes, the Navy, the NWU Type 1, the Coast Guard, actually using their work uniform, their simple blue camo pattern, and actually use it for their BDUs. And yeah, it's actually kind of what happened. There are some of these pieces actually been around for special units or special forces, and just like the chocolate chip pattern, it was ultimately being used in other countries, mostly in particular is Saudi Arabia, that's where most of the tests are from, and it's actually kind of a really good camo. So the final verdict on the DCU, or tricolor camo pattern, or desert battle uniform, an astounding of, you guessed it, or rather of an 8 out of 10, or 9 out of 10. It actually is one of the better desert patterns, unlike the chocolate chip pattern, which actually is not the best for it, but it's actually kind of what we had back then, but ultimately was replaced with this. So that wraps up of the desert color, or the desert camo pattern, or tricolor pattern. I'm Martoboy, and I'm signing out. I'll see you guys next time.